Okay, here we are back in Artifact Adventure. Where we last left off, we did all the loose end side quests, ignoring the jar goblins because I don't really think it's worthwhile. And that brings us back to Lone Rock, so that we can ask the Winged King about his hidden agenda with this whole quest. So to show you a couple of the only change I made, I have the Colossal Rifle and the bullets equipped. You have to actually equip the bullets to use them. It's a bit disappointing, especially since if you miss, that's still a bullet, you're out, and then you have to waste a turn to use more bullets. But this gives Indy about an equivalent amount of power to the other members of my team, Spike and Frank. How goes your quest, hero? You haven't come to tell me you switched sides and allied with the Swamp King and plan to attack me, have you? I would hope not. So here is our final boss. And you need luck to beat him, to be perfectly honest. He has a move that can... it's called Hand of the Giants or something like that. It will pretty much decimate your team. In the event he casts it twice, it is game over. He can just one-shot Spike and Indy in that one round. And yeah. So I'm not entirely convinced this is a fight that's possible to win if you break too many of the desert or Swamp King artifacts. It's just you need more luck and a disappointing amount. So you can see that he actually does a good chunk of damage. And I'm going to use Sun's Blessing in the event that he doesn't just kill Hero, because if he does, that's it. Tanglevine. And I am on a timer for this fight, because once my MP runs out, that's it. That's the move right there, Hand of the Giant. So I got a lucky crit there, but we're back to the whole crossing your fingers part. Going to use Heavenly Gate to bring Spike back, and I'm going to block. Going to how many bullets do I have left? 5. There's Hand of the Giant. If he uses it twice, that's it. Case in point, you can see just how much damage this guy has. Giant shield in the off chance it might help. Really fortunate crit there, but it's still not quite enough. 4 bullets, 3 bullets. If you're wondering if you cast the spell without having any bullets, then you're out the turn. It doesn't even reload for you, you just flat out lose the turn. So some really fortunate crits there. 2 bullets. Spike missed both hits. Going to defend just so I can hopefully keep him alive this turn. Whoa, that was close. Going to renew the giant shield. Gonna do Light of Rebirth. Hoping he doesn't use Hand of the Giant here. So right here is one of those windows where I am very vulnerable, because he's faster than me, and I may not be able to get the heal off. Depending on who he attacks, this could be the game-ending moment. See? And without any big healing item in this game, there's no hope for me to heal other than a spell, which is one of these shortcomings that I really don't like about this game. I'm going to have Indy defend here, Spike will attack, I'm going to drop Sun's Blessing. And I'm starting to run low on time here. Yeah, I'm going to use Light of Rebirth on Indy just to play it safe. Starting to be grateful I took the whole extra 8 bullets here. So, final 8 bullets. And as tempting as it might be to have Hero join in on the assault, I have to hold on to what's left of my MP for healing purposes. Jeez, he needs to die any time now. There goes Indy. So that's kind of it for him. I'm not going to waste the MP to revive him just because I can't keep him topped off. I need some lucky crits and some double attacks. Right there is that BS move of his, where he just double taps you. So if he does that at the beginning of the fight, game over. Luckily I got him to, like, it was just pure luck that he used it at the very end, and I managed to take him down right then and there. The castle is going to collapse. So after a pretty much 9-minute fight, we are clear to see the ending. Captured in the thunderous roar of the castle collapsing into ruin. Your unconsciousness slowly wanes as you experience both time and space passing you by. The adventurers finally reached the town of Greenvale. The adventurers chose not to obtain the artifact that supplies the healing spring from which Greenvale's people make their living. Instead, they receive the town's most prized treasure, the shimmering shield, as thanks. The villagers enjoyed year after year of prosperity, wealth, and fortune. The names of those brave adventurers were passed down for generations. The adventurers found the missing boy. The boy's father granted them an artifact as a reward for putting his mind at rest. And although it took a great many years, eventually the man got over his sorrow and moved on with his life. The adventurers had risked their lives to return the fortress key to the commanding officer. The officer reprimanded the careless soldier for losing the key, who went through a period of deep self-reflection. He turned his entire life around and went on to become commanding officer years later. The treasure will only be granted to those who can withstand the pain. The adventurers ignored the rumors and searched Wind's grave. The treasure left behind by the legendary bandit Wind. It teaches us the importance of not being overconfident and knowing when to run. As if to punish you for allowing your greed to twist your perceptions, so the group found the treasure, but by taking it they robbed Wind's power of its source, erasing it from this world forevermore. The boy with fantasy glittering in his eyes, the boy with dreams of being like Wind. The great bandit Wind. The adventurers confirmed his greatest hope, that Wind was real. After that, every day was filled with hope and joy. Eventually, the boy grew up and became a bandit, just like he always wanted. But sadly, this lead to tragedy. That's lead as in the element. The boy was caught in the act of looting and was put to death. The boy with fantasy glittering in his eyes. The boy with dreams of being like Wind. Even in his last moments, that hope still sparkled in those eyes. The majestic giant blue birds. Frustrated by their continued aggressiveness towards travelers, one merchant called for them to be cold. But the adventurers became protectors of the birds. Thanks to their human protectors, the birds were slowly able to recover their numbers. But a few years later, the bluebird population exploded and caused irreversible damage to the forest ecosystem. The adventurers managed to find the bottle of sap that the kids had carelessly dropped. Now the kids can continue their search for beetle nests. The subterranean air was mysteriously clear and full of new spells. Earth, wind, and water. To think, a world of such beauty lay just below the surface. The delivery of the strange package obtained in the secret base informed, but the adventurers realized the men were no good and stood up to them. The bandits were defeated and could not continue their illegal operations. The underlings of the scoundrels were cast out into the streets. They eventually resorted to the only profession they knew how to do. They began stealing from the houses of Foreign. For many years afterwards, Foreign was known as the most dangerous and lawless town in the country. His dream was to forge a legendary sword. A sword that could harness the burning power of flames. The adventurers managed to find a flame spear deep in a cave and bring it to the man. The sword he forged emitted a red glow. Okay, from the blade. Okay, I was misreading that. The sword he forged emitted a red glow from the blade. One could feel a faint warmth whilst wielding it. Truly a masterpiece, its intense beauty shall someday captivate another man, who shall not rest until he forges a blade of equal beauty. One moonlit night, the adventurers found a door to another world near the edge of a lake. That door led to a world filled with falsehoods. Yeah, there they have the right lead. By finding the truth hidden in that world of falsehoods, the adventurers obtained a hidden artifact. Should the artifact be removed, this world will be destroyed. But could that too have been a lie? An ever-changing world of lies. Perhaps it is waiting for someone else to brave its challenges. The village where all the people disappeared. the adventurers found out the missing people had all been summoned to a certain mansion. And here they're inconsistent. In the other parts of the game, Kuomo is spelled with a C, not a K. It turned out a sorcerer had used the power of an artifact to cast the people of the village into an eternal slumber. After defeating the sorcerer, the adventurers smashed the artifact, freeing the people from their sleep. Of course, the townspeople are overjoyed and thank the adventurers profusely. Every year since, on the day the adventurers saved them, the townspeople hold the Awakening Festival, so they'd never forget what happened. The adventurers defeated the sealed Hell Beast, but did they really need to defeat it? This question lingered many months after the Hell Beast's demise. The cave which had imprisoned the Hell Beast was a successful gold mine. The villagers knew much of the veins of gold running through the cave. The villagers had taken advantage of the adventurers' good faith, and happily reaped the rewards of the adventurers' strength. But their joy only lasted until they ran into the child of the Hell Beast, who had been hiding in the darkest recesses of the cave. The adventurers decided to help the rather pushy adventurer in Wangun. They delivered the requested glowstone. The inventor managed to create an explosive to blow through walls. At first, it was difficult to produce the explosive in sufficient quantities, but after years of effort, the inventor made a breakthrough. But then, a certain devious general adopted the explosive for use in the battlefield. His invention caused countless deaths. The inventor was devastated his creation had been used for evil. He devoted himself to the creation of peaceful things from then on. So for those that aren't familiar with this story, that's Alfred Nobel's story. He created dynamite for the intention to clear wreckage, rubble, make it easier for people to build. It was intended for constructive purposes. It was quickly adopted for destructive purposes in the use of war, creating new bombs. And as a result, he spent the rest of his life pursuing peace, which is why the Peace Prize is named after him. A man's mission to dig a tunnel to observe a volcano had been stopped by a layer of particularly hard rock. The adventurers decided to help the man by lending him the tunneling tool an inventor had given them. And after a lot of hard work, the tunnel was finally completed. At the end of the tunnel, there was a whole wealth of undiscovered caves. The man went from exploring the volcano to making discovery after discovery. The book he would later write on his many wonderful findings always included the names of the adventurers in them. The people of the village near the volcano lived in fear. To appease the terrible flame god of the volcano, the people offered a sacrifice once every 50 years. The adventurers agreed to help the woman chosen to sacrifice. They made their way to the flame god's lair to do battle. After an epic battle, the flame god was eventually defeated. His reign of terror over the village was brought to an abrupt end. Now that the threat was gone, the people of the fire village were free to cultivate relations with the rest of the world. By offering tours of the volcano, the village was able to attract many visitors and in time became very prosperous. More importantly, the village no longer had to offer up one of its people to be taken by the flame god. Families no longer feared their child might be next. The village erected beautiful statues of marble of each of the adventurers who had saved their village. The two crab kingdoms warring over territory. The Hari crabs and the Kara crabs, fighting not only for power, but for control over the future of all crab kind. After thinking it over, the adventurers decided to ally with the Kara crabs. The Kara crabs got their way and began to plan their future, but at the cost of so many Hari crab lives. There was yet another problem for the crabs, one that would affect not only their caves. With no Hari crabs to hold them back, the Kara clan were free to breed and increase their numbers. Their population exploded, eventually forcing them to search for a new habitat. Their domain began to spread, crossing deserts and forests alike. Eventually, they shall claim the world itself as theirs. Whilst on their journey, our adventurers came across a beast that had been locked in a cage. According to local guards, the animal is both very rare and also incredibly dangerous, capable of destroying whole settlements. The adventurers decided to help the soldier by obtaining for him a poison berry. The poison that the soldier extracted from the berry was potent enough to kill the beast in a painless way. But the fact this soldier had put down the beast quickly became common knowledge. Lone Rock came under attack from nature protesters for many years. In order to silence their critics, the town invested a huge amount of money into the national budget. A man with a checkered past planned to break free of prison and start a new life with the girl he loved. The adventurers risked life and limb to sneak into his home and find a pendant for him. After handing him the pendant, he told them to meet him in Aluda. The now free man and his new wife expressed their gratitude to the adventurers. The two of them lived happily ever after. The adventurers decided to lodge at an inn in a certain fishing village. When they awoke, they were in a jail. Yeah, that happens when I go places a lot more often than I like to admit. The adventurers decided to ally with the man trapped in the next cell and uncover the secret of the village. The adventurers came across a priest preparing to perform a ritual below the village. The priest told them he was waiting for the awakening of one who would throw the world into chaos. Hearing this threat, the adventurers tried to disrupt the ritual by confronting the priest. After a fierce battle, the adventurers successfully stopped the Hellgate from opening. The ferocity of the fighting had weakened the cavern, which began to crumble. Afterwards, the people of Luda made sure nobody went near the village again. However, the village became known as an excellent place to stay whilst fishing in the nearby lakes. Slowly, it began to grow again. Fishermen have been disappearing. Tales have started to include sightings of strange, fish-faced men. Nobody knows what became of the priest, or of the fishermen that continue to vanish. The Serra and San clans, trapped in conflict for more than 100 years. Serra holding the Holy Land from their fortress, and San trying to claim it for their own. In a bid to put an end to the war, the adventurers revealed the location of a hidden route to the leader of the San clan. The resulting surprise attack by San abruptly brought the war to an end. Throughout the Serra fortress, piles of corpses rotted in the heat and blood covered the floors. A one-sided attack had led to They have the wrong lead there again, damn it! A one-sided attack had led to a brutal one-sided slaughter. So the war ended, and San reclaimed control of the Holy Land by the cost of countless lives. Perhaps the bloodshed was inevitable. Perhaps all the adventurers had done was turn 100 years of death and suffering into one harrowing night of pain. This girl had used the power of an artifact to reanimate the dead. Realizing things had gone awry, the girl asked the adventurers to put it end to the undead rising. Okay, they have some major proofreading to do. By sprinkling holy water into 3 incense burners, the adventurers were able to stabilize the artifact. All the poor girl had wanted to do was bring back her partner, who had died trying to bring down the Swamp King. But even with the artifact, bringing one back to life as they were before is not possible. The girl probably knew it was futile all along, but she did it anyway. The heart wants what it wants. After the uprising was calmed, the girl accepted her lover was not coming back and returned home. The man drank down the crystals of life, and instantly his body was frozen like ice and he no longer moved. To help him out of his predicament, he needed someone to get him a melt berry. But even if the frozen body is returned to normal, the man's memory would be lost forever. There would be no reward. The adventurers, hoping there was some other way, tried touching the crystal surrounding the man. Upon the instant they made contact, the man's body shattered, leaving only the crystal behind. An eerie red light began to glow from inside the crystal. The crystals of life, they take the life of those who drink them and turn them into their own energy. They are probably a punishment from some holy deity, sent to punish those who dream of breaking free of the limits of their mortal existence. The princess of the dream world asked the adventurers not to tell others of her world's existence. The adventurers pledged not only to keep the secret of the dream world, but also to protect it. Many people in the past have been invited to dream worlds, but every time they succumb to the beauty of the flower and pick it. That's why the adventurer's answer surprised the princess. Some years later, the petal of the flower ascended to heaven and forged a new world. the adventurers were known as mythical legends. The adventurers came across a lookout at the brink of destruction. Working with a soldier, they came up with a plan to wipe out the attacking monsters. The adventurers volunteered to set off the dynamite in the basement of the lookout tower. Nothing could possibly have survived such a huge explosion. Although the attack was stopped, it was at a great cost. The town of Frostwind understood then what true tragedy is. Family, friends, lovers. If even one person had survived the attack, perhaps Frostwind's grief would not have been so deep. If only a more controlled method had been used, perhaps at least one person could have been saved. Thanks to the rash actions of the adventurers, not a soul could be saved. Seeking the ultimate power, the adventurers joined forces with a soldier they met at the Temple of Power. By working together with a Wait a second, wasn't that the Temple of Light? I'm not sure, but that might be an inconsistency there. By working together with the soldier, they were able to make their way through the temple. The soldier moved ahead to open up access to the treasure room, but got trapped on the final floor. The adventurers were then presented with a choice, either ultimate power or the life of their ally. They chose their ally. The spirit of the temple, seeing this act of great kindness, bestowed true power onto the adventurers as a reward. Perhaps it was their own inherent good, or perhaps it was the faith their new ally had placed upon them. Either way, the adventurers chose life in the end. If your heart is filled with honest compassion, that shall turn to real power in time. Everyone was safe and got what they wanted. Isn't that a perfect story? So I'm not sure what that final quest, that last line was a reference to. I'm trying to think that, that environment isn't actually ringing any bells, but here's the final one, I believe. The jar and the goblins it once contained. The adventurers failed to locate all of the goblins. The ones that remained free began to take their revenge on the jars of the world. No matter where they were hidden, or what they were made from, every jar met a tragic end. Some months later, with all pots smashed, the goblins turned their hatred towards the world beyond the skies. Yeah, there were only 6 of them left, as far as I know. The adventurers obtained the Key of Time from the Winged King, and slowly gathered information from the wise sages. They learned of the poison from beyond the skies, and the artifacts too. They learned of the Swamp King healing people using his poison, and of the Winged King leading people using his artifact. Their symbiotic existence plagued forever by war. All of this was surely devised by power that transcends both kings, was it not? But the problem we face is not the source of evil. The real problem is whether we can arrive at that answer that will break the cycle. If people do not realize that they have the opportunity to change their fate, the battle could go on into eternity. After a long and grueling quest, the adventurers finally defeated the Winged King. With a sudden roar of sound, his castle began to collapse. Slowly, the adventurers began to lose consciousness. Light slowly enveloped their bodies, memories of their quest still fresh in their minds. As the light engulfed them, their bodies began to tear apart, eventually turning into particles. They became a new energy source. Then a light surrounded the world, and a great gray cloud began to shroud the earth, warning of a new battle. And that, folks, is the end. So that was like 10 minutes of fighting against the Winged King, and then 20 minutes of all the endings. So by the huge variety of endings they're referring to each one of those, most of them actually have like an alternative route if you actually decide to confront the enemies inside the outpost, the watchtower, that one thing that I just blew up. You actually can save the people. And as I went through, I think I highlighted the alternatives here and there for the ones that I could find. But otherwise, that's kind of it. I don't know if I'll ever get the opportunity to do the Dark Hero run where I actually fight the Swamp King. For that one, I'd probably take the airship just to make things a little bit easier. And I definitely am not looking forward to fighting the boss in the third tower. It's bad enough having to fight it on the way to the Swamp King. But otherwise, I can't really think of anything else to say, so we're going to call it quits here. That was Artifact Adventure. I don't know what project looms on the horizon, but hopefully it is something you'll look forward to and something you'll stick around for. So until next time, I'm the Hero of Light. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.